Hello guys, it's Glurmit here, and apologies to begin with if my voice sounds a bit odd. I'm currently quite ill. Nothing serious, but just not really feeling too great, so that's why today's Grand Arena is in the video format and not the live stream format we normally do. So as you see on the screen, I've just kind of gone over the different teams I've set and the teams we're going up against. And yeah, the first battle went so bad. I'm going to blame this on the headache I had at the time. But I took Chimaera lead Starkiller. I did bring Seer, and you do see the viability here, because when Starkiller does his special, if Ken didn't have buff immunity, he would have taunted, and he also would have gained damage immunity. Now when Seer comes in a second, and she does her special, which you'll see momentarily, what will happen is Mara Jade, who's the weakest underlying force user at this point, is actually going to gain damage immunity. And this is really, really nice. And it's why I kind of say to you guys, maybe using Seer is a good idea. Because, especially from a defensive point of view, if Seer comes in and applies the damage immunity, that's a no-brainer right there. Now, unfortunately, what happened is, because we didn't have Palpatine lead, we didn't build anything up, and it didn't go very well. So what I did after is I actually took in Jabba cleanup. Now, I should have probably done this to start with. And it's honestly what I'm probably going to do going forwards. Jabba is such a consistent raid counter. There isn't, I would argue that it currently isn't a better counter to raid Ben, other than Jabba. Now this becomes even better when you have Jabba's ult. You just have to make sure not to use it on Ben, because as soon as Ben revives, everyone gets instant defeat immunity. The only team he really struggles to kill is Lord Vader, and the only other team that sometimes he may struggle to kill is going to be Sith Eternal Emperor, which is kind of a bit of a funny match, because they can both kill each other, but they also both risk timing out massively against one another. As you can see here, it's so easy to control the team. Now, unfortunately, we did lose Skizgod Lando. I do have bad relics on my Jabba team. That may have been what caused it. But for the most part, it's a really, really nice counter. If only I had the ult, we would have gotten near max banners. But I do have that going into next week, so I'm very, very excited for that. Now, in terms of Omicrons, just for those of you who are wondering, I do have the Chrysanthemum Omicron. The enemy team, I think they had 2 Omicrons, they didn't have the Ignore protection. I don't think either of these really change anything. And the thing with Jabba is, because you can just manage them both, and this is what I was talking about earlier, we got Ben low, and I just didn't really want to deal with the whole deleting him and having to go back and back and back. So in the end, I just thought I'd sit back and take Rey out. But unfortunately, this was more than I expected, and it did take a while, because I could have just blown him up there, but obviously Rey takes reduced damage from health-based effects, so I wasn't sure if that was going to be enough, so we just kept on cycling around. And I know some of you are probably thinking, Glum, you could have just, especially now, based on Jabba, you could have just killed Ben, killed Rey next turn, but we just held off, and in the end she died. Fantastic. Now moving on to the next battle, we were up against a CLS with Troopio Cron, really well modded, all Relic 7, with the exception of Han, who's like 8. And we just threw Iden. My Iden's gear 12, everyone else is like Relic. And honestly, this wasn't that hard. I see people going against this team, and they're running GLs, or GL tier teams, to take out CLS, and honestly, it got a little bit close at 1 or 2 points. But Iden was extremely consistent. Now, I don't know if that's because I had the Relic on Stormtrooper, because he did tank quite a lot. But once you take someone out, and I chose to go Troopio, just because I want to remove that Cron as early as possible, then you can start deathmarking people, and the team just falls apart. Now, whether or not this works in threes, I'm not sure. But in 5v5, this is pretty standard. Not too difficult at all. Iden's just such a strong character, and I can't wait to have them at Relic, because they will start doing a lot of damage. There you go, Troopio's knocked out. We then start looking at CLS a little bit, and then when Death Trooper goes again, we just apply the Death Mark. I think I apply it on Chewie here. I do, and I just take him out just to stop the guard and all that, and then we can work on CLS and work on Han, and I think we get more or less max banners. I think we might have had one banner missing here. Like I said, it's a little bit dicey at the beginning, but for the most part, this is really clean. And again, it's another team. I don't see why you'd ever set this on defense. In freeze, sure. In freeze, sure. Because CLS, 2PO, C3PO is so good. But in 5v5, there's too many counters. And as you see here, Iden, like a team that almost everyone has at this point, even if it's low gear, is going to decimate this. Now, would this have worked if I didn't have relics? I don't know. I feel like you need at least, what, gear 11, gear 12 for this to work. But then it was never too close. It was a little bit at the beginning, but we came through. And that's the main thing. So yeah, we took out Han, and we moved on to the next battle. The next battle being against Qui-Gon. Now this one did not go very well. We outspeeded. I was like amazed that Tech went next. He did, and things just didn't go right. I did the stun. Anakin obviously didn't get stunned. We then swapped it over to Omega. We then targeted Anakin because this also stuns, and it's a cooldown increase as well. And then we AoE, and then Anakin just comes in anyway. And things just got so dicey. But apparently, Wrecker was in a bad mood because he decided to basically solo the rest of the team. To be fair, I got very lucky. Having Echo and Wrecker left, I mean, I could still give defense up, so I could still do the true damage. But yeah, in the end, we won. Terrible banners. But Wrecker and Echo coming through strong. I feel like I really need to work on this counter. Too often, it's too close. But what can you say? If you win, you win. And in this case, we did. Because Wrecker is kind of just insane. And bringing Omega is important because it also increases his stats. So then moving on to the next battle, we went up against TIE Pilot Omicron. This team, honestly, is not a bad team. I don't think TIE Pilot Omicron is the best defensive team in the game by any stretch. But we took in Padme with Barracks just to cleanse, because there's a lot of debuffs on the enemy team. And then we took in Clone Sergeant and Cody, and they're just there because they're at Relic. I'd kind of already used everyone else, so I wanted some people to use her. And it wasn't too bad. It took a little bit of time to go through Stormtrooper, and he was kind of the most important to take out. The reason being he gets defense up, which kind of screws me when I'm not attacking with the Courage. Obviously Courage is max health based damage, so OG Kylo is not going to be really taking any damage here, which is a shame, but we get through him in the end. TIE Pilot's out of here. Then we go for Phasma, and honestly there's an argument I should have gone for the Executioner, but I saw Phasma as more of a threat here, because of the speed down, because of the time meter gain. So I just decided to take her out first. Padme unfortunately got stunned. Honestly, this isn't too bad here, guys. It's just a matter of time. The banners aren't great. Obviously, we're gonna lose like 5 banners for the lack of protection. But this isn't that bad a counter. And the fact that we did this with just Clone Sergeant, Cody, and Ayla, all characters who are kind of useless for me at this level. I mean, the only reason Ayla's even Relic 7 is because of that Datacron that was out a few months ago, even a year ago almost, which was pretty fun. But other than that, I have never really used her too much. Taking OG Kylo out at the end was kind of a little bit scary, because obviously he's immune to Courage. I started to doubt, do I actually have the damage in this team to take him out? Thankfully, we did. We just kept on stunning him, but it did get a little bit closer than we'd like. Clone Sergeant surprisingly doing a lot of damage here, but it all came down to stunning him. Once we had Kylo stunned here, everything kind of just started to flow. And that's fair to Ayla and Cody and Padme. All of them have stuns we can utilize, because the problem is he's attacking that turn, he's getting turn meter, and in the end we just take him out. But it was a little bit scary. Then we moved on to the next battle, and this was against Malgus. Now, this I just wanted to try, and I'm going to try against next Grand Arena, because my Finn is now R9. I feel like this has potential. I've been running this, as you guys know, against Darth Revan lately, and it's been the easiest max balance you could ever imagine. So I thought to myself, well, you can apply healing immunity to Zorii. Is there even a possibility you take Malgus out? I think the problem is Finn died too early, because you need Finn to do his taunt effect so you can start getting loads of cooldown increases or decreases on your team. So you can start just spamming assist, 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 and you gain so much per meter doing so. Honestly, this isn't that bad. In terms of 2-shots, this was actually really, really clean. We took out Bastila there. We then took over Talon there. But the problem was Malak and Malgus. And unfortunately, because we've lost Finn, we've just lost a lot of the team. You know, we've lost the stun, we've lost all of that fun stuff. We did get the buff immunity here. It's nice. But the problem is, like, every time we put a debuff, they're healing. So every time Zorii takes a turn, they're basically healing to full because of the explosives. Which isn't a bad thing, because remember, guys, Zorii can inflict healing immunity, and you'll see it in a second. With Malak, we do almost get to the point, I think we do it here with the second special, and we inflict the healing immunity, and we start working on Malak here, but the problem is, unfortunately, he starts taking bonus turns. So what we can do in the future is we need to be applying the healing immunity earlier. I hadn't started doing that yet. And I also need to be landing the stuns with Rose. So we switch it over. Now, I don't know why I didn't do the healing immunity earlier. I think it's just a bit of a misplay. But I mean, it's not the end of the world, right? Like I said, I wasn't feeling too well during this Grand Arena, so some misplays happened. But I really do think there's potential here. You can see we switch it over. Actually, we call the assist. Almost always you will switch it. But they just heal so much. This is why you need the healing immunity. Which I genuinely think that you can get through this team if you get to that point. There's the stun. Finally, we land the healing immunity. And now we start gunning him down. But the problem is, we now don't have the stun. So you'll see in a second, he'll just take a bonus turn. See, we could have gone for the buff immunity, the turn meter removal. I don't think I can have turn meter removed, but we can still go for it anyway. And then we land the stun again. And Malak's almost out, but Malgus just killed my tank. And this is what I was saying, guys. Like, this is why I think you need Finn to stay alive, because things then stay a little bit easier. In the sense that you do have 2 tanks, it's less likely you're just gonna get screwed. But unfortunately at this point, yeah, we don't have the healing immunity. Zori's been doubted, she's not taking turns, and yeah, things got a little bit dicey. Malgus ended up kind of soloing the rest of the team. Like I said, this isn't something I expected to work. In hindsight, I should have just found a GL on it. But it's something I thought might, just based on the interaction with Darth Revan. And like I said, guys, if you want a 2-shot team, this may be a team worth using. Zorii to take out the sides, because it seems extremely consistent. You know, we've taken out Darth Revan, Bastila, Talon. And then you can kind of come back at the end and take out whoever you need. Unfortunately, in my position, I drew a GL, so it's kind of a waste. But for those of you who are watching, maybe you do this and then you throw in something like Bounty Hunters or Mace with JKL. And either of those would be a really nice cleanup. So yeah, afterwards we kind of just took in a GL. I wasn't planning on doing this, but we do that later. So this battle here is SLKR versus Jabba. I just wanted to clear Jabba first, so that I could get to the point where I know what I have left to clear the rest of the board. And wowzers, we got wrecked early on. I don't know what else to really say. We are so lucky we got the 3 stacks of armor here on Kylo, but man, for a second I thought we'd lost, because there can't be revived, got disintegrated. We cleanse up on armor, we then pass the best guard to Kylo, and honestly this is just a Kylo show. We got incredibly lucky. Unfortunately, Jabba's already got ult, so we can't even do damage to Chrysanthemum. But we're stuck hitting him. Man, I really did think this would be an all drop battle. Thankfully it wasn't, but the banners are not nice. This seems to be my kind of experience with Kylo versus Jabba. The issue I kind of have is it either goes really, really well, or everything just goes wrong. Now thankfully I had the 3 stacks of Beskar and I had the shield tech, so I could dispel all the debuffs. So in the end it wasn't too bad, it was just a matter of waiting for the ult, which thankfully having the 3 stacks of Beskar, having the counter attacks, and that Kylo could actually get in there and do some basics. Remember, he hits 3 times on the basic, so the basic charges his ult 3 times as quick as his middle. So it's really nice for powering through, and honestly if we didn't have the 3 stacks we would have lost. Boba gets killed there, then we go to Chrysanthemum, and in a second we'll get that tier 3 ult, and then if I recall I only swiped. Now I may do the middle, but for the most part you only really want to swipe here because you want to guarantee you get the 3 stacks again, 3 stacks of ult. So you don't necessarily want to be doing his middle here, and the thing is, if you have the Beskar, you're gaining Siphon, stacks of Siphon just from basicking, so you can kind of get away with just swiping here, because remember guys, the swiping is what converts the Siphon into your mastery, which is why it's so important to do. And it's why you shouldn't really swipe unless you have Siphon, otherwise you're not really gaining anything there. But in the end, a little bit risky at the beginning, but there's not really any worry of losing at this point. We're at full health, we're at full protection. Kylo's looking pretty good. The game kind of bugged out, but we're back. And yeah, in the end, nothing too crazy. Without the What Temple tank tech, this would not have worked. The reason being, I would have been blinded by Kylo. We would have been constantly missing the swipes, constantly missing the basics. Remember guys, the only ability that's unavoidable by Kylo is his middle ability. The other interesting thing is, look at the shadow on the ground guys. Why is Kylo's helmet the only part of the shadow that's visible? I think that's kind of funny. I don't know man, the more you concentrate on it, the more you can't ignore it, right? I bet I've annoyed all of you watching this part of the video. In the end, I mean, I could have done some middle abilities, but I just thought it's basic Jabba to death, because we've got so much offense at this point. So I just went in, basic, and Jabba fortunately died. Surprisingly survived that one. And in the end, we get a measly 53 banners. Okay, then we went up against Lord Vader more, and I really do feel like the AI's changed. They always used to go for Fennec, Thrawn, and Maul, and now they never go for Fennec. Now the AIs are only ever going for Bosk, or they're going for Beskar Mando. And if Beskar Mando survives, this is a one-shot. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. They also have the tank revive chron. Now, I took Beskar Mando instead of normal Mando because I prefer having the damage immunity. I kind of wish I did the other way around now. Because I'm kind of thinking at this point, oh well, yeah, Bosk has been fractured, so no taunt there. We now only have the Cleanse from Grief for survivability. We're going to go through Royal Guard twice. Thankfully he's only Relic 5, so not a big deal there. Also, Maul just got wrecked from Fennec there, that was amazing. And now we're kind of working on Thrawn, because at this point I'm worried that we're not going to one-shot, because now they go for Fennec. So they've literally waited until Fennec was more or less dead. Also 2 stuns from Thrawn, like what is that? It's crazy. And in the end, we just got slapped around big time. I think I just put this on auto at the end. I just wanted to see out the rest of the battle. The banners, I think we've got 3 banners for the 3 kills. But it just feels so weird. In the past, and you guys will know because you watch these videos a lot, you'll know that in the past, Maul always targeted Fennec. And Thrawn always fractured Fennec. But now, it never seems to be the case. Maybe I've missed something, maybe you guys haven't. But it just feels like the AI has completely changed lately. I mean, in the end, it doesn't really matter, because the 2-shot was on. But this team's a little bit crazy. If only Beskar Mando had to survive, we would have been fine, because we could have damaged immunity Fennec, and then we would have taken out the rest of the team. So then we move on to the next battle. This is cleanup. I actually took my CLS team. Is this overkill? Probably. But I just didn't really want to drop any more banners at this point. And unfortunately, you could say that dropping the Starkiller battle at the beginning kind of always set me off to a losing start, because we don't have Jabba anymore. And from there on, we're kind of always using different teams. But in the end, we just take out Lord Vader with this. It's just basically just basicing, because the basics will cleanse you. And then you also do a lot of damage, you get loads of protection up. Without Maul there, you can one-shot these, because Maul's the only threat, because he can kill Cheap your turn 1. But this honestly isn't that bad. He does ult, makes literally no difference here, guys. In the end, we kill him off. I think I did get a little bit worried towards the end, because we were doing less and less damage. But we just kept on basicing, and eventually we took this guy out. Thankfully, he doesn't carry underestimated stacks between battles, otherwise he'd be near on unkillable, because he would recover too much health on a special. But in the end, Lord Vader's out, and we're on to the next battle, which is the Malgus one I mentioned earlier. And at this point, I'm thinking, well, we may as well just use a Geo here. And I kind of wish I had done this to begin with. I basically lost about 70 banners for a combination of drop battles, mainly one that's coming up that is really dumb, and I'll explain why in a second. The Zorii battle and the Starkiller battle. These 3 battles are the drops were basically preventable. The Zorii one I don't regret, because I was trying something out, and if it even helps one of you guys watching 2-shot Malgus, that's pretty fun. But the other 2, the Starkiller one is very annoying. Like I said, guys, I'm not really feeling too well at the moment, so I did all of this in under half an hour. I think it actually took me about 35 minutes to do all this Grand Arena. So I just rushed through it, because I had a really bad headache, and I just wanted to get it over and done with. So some mistakes were obviously made. But it was the Starkiller battle, and one that you guys are going to see in a minute, where if I look back, I'm a little bit disappointed. But if the circumstances were different, I wouldn't have minded too much. In the end, we just start working on these. I decided that I'd rather Malik revive anyway, because there's a tank revive Kron. We could have used it on Malgus. I think we've already burnt it by now. And we take him out, and then we take Malik out, because we allowed Malik to do the revive, because he's less of a threat than Malgus, because Malgus can actually do quite good damage and banner sniping, whereas Malik doesn't really do a lot, if I'm completely honest. And we just made sure to always call Luke. In the end, we was just trying to get banners back, so I was trying to stun when I can, basic with JMO when I can, and just trying to call Hoda for the assists. Basically because Hoda's going to be recovering my protection on everyone, and in the end we still dropped a banner, unfortunately. Right, so moving on to the next battle. This is the one that annoyed me. They have the Datacron that deals damage based on max health for each stagger and stun. So the stagger just nuked gas. And the next mistake, unfortunately, was they had the Kira-Cron. And basically what that does is, on a basic, smuggler allies are going to inflict healing immunity. If this was not here, we would have soloed with 2 people. But unfortunately I didn't check the Cron before going into the battle. I literally just saw the team, thought, oh, I can use gas. Every time I take a full team, I say I could have done it with 2 characters. So I just took them in. I didn't even think about it. And this kind of annoyed me after the battle. I was kind of a little bit upset that it went this bad. But in the end, it's not the end of the world, right? Next up, we take in Jawas. And like always, this team is so weird, guys. It will either be the closest battle ever, or just a clean sweep. And this one was one of the closest ever. Everyone had so many stacks of thermal detonators. And I was thinking to myself, okay, we're in a really good spot at this point. I've remodded my Jawas, they're holding up pretty well. Normally someone would have died by now. And then this happened, and they just nuked. All my Jawas just got nuked. And at this point I'm like, oh my god, do I back out? Look, they all start dying, let's keep in. And we got lucky. So 1 Jawa stands, and a win's a win. So now I've kind of burnt all my Raddus counters. So I now tried something I haven't really run before. I tried Jedi Revan. Now I do have the JKL, the SLKR counter mods on, so my Revan team is well modded. Honestly, it wasn't too bad. It was a little bit closer than I would have liked. I think this one is actually max banners, but this is the weirdest battle you're ever going to see. because it's both the closest to perfection in terms of banners and the closest to 0. I don't really know, guys. There was never any chance that they get the ult off, but it just felt like the constant explosives were just going to screw me over big time. You look at Revan there. If Revan gets deleted early, I know we have Savior, but if Revan's taken out too early, this is going to be a bad thing for me. But in the end, there's so much recovery on this team and so much stuff like that. It wasn't really too much of an issue. We got the top off there with old Ben. I decided to take out Biston because Biston can apply the frenzy and be really annoying in that regard. And overall, it just wasn't too bad. We took him out. We then gave this to Yoda. And then we took out Scarif. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't mark down, it's because the mark inflicts buff immunity. So we can use that on Scarif and Pathfinder, and we can prevent him from gaining buffs, which just makes my life a little bit easier. Because I don't have to keep on going through all of this cycle of killing him, having him revive, killing him, and all of that fun stuff. So we then take him out, and there we go, guys. That is another character zone completed, and now we just need to clean up the harm team. I use Wampa. The only reason I haven't been using Wampa so far, and to be fair, we could have probably just Wampa soloed the dash team, potentially. And the reason I haven't been using Wampa is just because I've heard that it's bugged. And I haven't wanted to risk using Wampa on a bugged team. The other thing you'll notice is a lot of teams now, the only team today that we really faced, there was 2 that Wampa could have been used on, and they were TIE Pilot, and the other one was the Mothma team. And a lot of rosters just don't set anything that can be beaten by Wampa anymore. So I mainly use Wampa as a clean. Granted, we could have used him for more banners early on, or her, should I say. But yeah, it was pretty clean. Not too bad at all. In the end, Wampa does what Wampa does best. Now, moving on to the fleets, we finally had success with Empire versus Exec. I changed the lineup a little bit. I dropped the bomber so that I could bring a second fleet. And what I did was I actually ability blocked the IG ship. Vader dies. Vader will die most times, unfortunately. We then called in Defender and we stunned Racer Crest. So now we have 1 ability blocked and we have 1 stunned. Then things just went better and better. So we did lose another ship, unfortunately. We then do the middle ability because it gives us some offense up. I know we don't need the health right now, but that's fine. We have basic and that takes out IG. Now we're in a good position. Iden's still alive. We then call in the Interceptor, so it's a little bit of protection recovery. Or should I say buff dispel? Sorry for that, guys. I got my kits confused there. So we have the buff dispel there. Houndstooth is going a little bit crazy. We basic, good damage. We then just kill Houndstooth, we heal up. This is what I was talking about, protection recovery. We then come over here, we kill Xanadu. And honestly, at this point, I don't know we're going to win. The banners aren't great, let's be real, but this is easily repeatable. It wasn't that difficult. There wasn't much RNG in our favor. There was a few dodges, but we have foresight. That's to be expected. So we heal up again, offense up, and we basic, and then they call someone out. I think they call in Boba. And this could have caused issues, but it wasn't too bad. We go for the stun on him, and then we basic, and we call the Interceptor. We call the Defender, and then the Defender basics again. And then we basic, and in a second you'll see Boba's taken out, we heal up. Basically, you could do this with like 2 ships. It's not too difficult. And there's also an argument you don't even really need the Interceptor for this. I would say bring it anyway to make it easier. But this is really easy. And in the end, we basic, we call the Defender, kaboom. Executor down. Now, at this point, I'm feeling quite confident, and then this happens. I drop banners again. So, as usual, you normally lose the Vulture Droid here. That's not the end of the world, because we gain 10 meter, and we also summon a new one. So, it's not the worst thing ever. Now, normally what I try and do is hope for 2 things. One is some Buzz Droids on Anakin, so we've applied some now. Because remember, guys, the bomber, the one in the middle, can ignore taunt to target characters with Buzz Droids. So I was hoping to leave Anakin there with buzz droids, or alternatively, I was hoping for Spy to come in and nuke Anakin. Unfortunately, this just didn't really happen, so we called Spy in. Now, if I had brought Soldier, we would have one-shotted it. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, unfortunately, that just didn't really happen. We took someone out, Anakin then comes in, does an AoE. Things are looking a little bit dodgy. We've still got the buzz droids, I'm still thinking, okay, we may get a turn here. Things may be on the up. But then this happens, and the ult comes in, and everyone just gets nuked. And then we do the middle ability, Anakin's now down. At this point, I thought we still had a chance. But unfortunately, what happens is they call in Ahsoka and Plo, so all of our buzz droids are now gone. And then shortly Ahsoka comes in and she just starts just destroying my team. So we cleanse up, call another droid, get some more offense stacking. And within basic, there is an argument we should probably basic dex, it is a stun. They then reapply, and at this point, just this isn't going to go too well, because we only have one ship left, technically, until the battle's done. And I'm one turn away from the ult. In hindsight, like I said, guys, I should have done the basic. Had fires under stun there. Okay, so now we're on to the battle against Raddus. Now, I keep on dropping battles to Raddus lately, so I just took in Rebels. It's so much easier. I'm not saying the Raddus fleet is good, but it isn't terrible. Not when you have a good bomber ship here. I bring the Outrider at the moment instead of Biston, just because I like the speed up. I think it's quite useful. But there is, Biston, there is no argument to use him instead. Ideally, we should have opened up with the target lock so that Biggs could have called the assist on everyone. But it didn't really make much of a difference. In the end, we still win. I think it was a little bit closer than I would like, but not too bad. And then we called in Cassian. Cassian obviously just got his buffs. As always, guys, the main thing with this team is taking out Rey's Falcon, because otherwise, when she has a lot of buffs, luckily she didn't have any there, she does an increased damage for each and every buff she has. She dispels them off, or she deals more damage. Think Ahsoka Falcon. And I've had it in the past where basically Rey will just one-shot everyone. So in the last stream, you guys will remember I said about Resistance versus Negotiator. And the reason that works is if Rey stays alive, she will one-shot Anakin with the buff dispel AoE. It's kind of crazy how good that ship is. It's like the one redeeming factor of the Resistance faction. So then we come in, we do this, and we call the assist. Pose the only real threat remaining, because once the Resistance ships are gone, there's not really any chance of Raddus getting this ult off. And now only one fleet remains, and that is cleaning up the Negotiator fleet, so I just took in the leftover Empire. It's kind of nice doing this split, because this isn't a terrible fleet. Now, if I had the Scythe, this would be a lot better, but it's a good clean-up fleet, being able to save the bomber. And the other thing is, if you're low GP, if your opponent uses Rebels to kill Negotiator, saving the bomber and putting them in Negotiator is the play, because then the Rebel counter won't work as effectively. So it's nice to be able to save the bomber, save the other Empire ships for a clean-up fleet, or to mix and match to make a better Negotiator fleet. This wasn't too bad, this was pretty clean. I was surprised how much damage the Sith fighter actually did. It's pretty fun. But not really too bad. There were good things about this Grand Arena, there were bad things. I'm going to put the mistakes down to not really feeling the best. But overall, we've made some good progress. The Negotiator, shame about that one. But we had a nice Executor win. We also had some nice experiences looking at Zorii versus Malgus. I do think there's potential there. I think we just played it pretty badly by not applying healing immunity and not the Finn dying, which hopefully won't be an issue in the future because my Finn is now R9. And having tested that, he survived like 4 of Rey's ults earlier. So the guy is definitely up to the standard to hold to Rey. Anyways, guys, sorry again if the commentary isn't the best today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel a bunch. And as always, guys, I hope you will have a glamming day.